was looking forward to waking up early and hearing the sounds of the Newport Pier water, whatever this is here. Marine sounds, seagulls. Wasn't anticipating the garbage truck. It's a nice chill in the air. The rain is mostly gone. I was looking forward to getting up early here and hearing the sounds of the Newport Harbor, the seagulls, the boats. It can't have everything. Listen to that thing. I don't know where the hell that thing's at. Also been a few rabbits hopping around down here. Oh, there they are. Check them out. There's one there. There was a few little bunnies too. There's another one. Anyway, that's my opening comments. Pretty view though. Except for this thing. You know, I was a little disappointed this morning when I was trying to record the sounds out the window of my hotel. I was a little disappointed that I was hearing the sounds of the garbage trucks and the delivery trucks and that sort of thing. But then it reminded me of some walks I used to take when I was traveling in Europe. I can remember getting up crack of dawn in Bergen, Norway, and wandering around the harbor, and I could hear the seagulls in the background, but there were the morning sounds of trucks and the street sweepers, and even in Paris I remember hearing a lot of that first thing in the morning. And yes, I was trying to record the sounds of the harbor and the sounds of the seagulls, but the background noise of the trucks are part of that sound, that morning sound. Probably not as soothing to the ears, but to me, or for me, a soothing reminder of trips from the past. Grabbed a few pamphlets recently, of course, but I grabbed a few of inns, and I'm going to look later and see if they're listed on Expedia or Hotels.com or any of the sites that I use. And if they're not, then that's just food for thought, because again, I've been trying to stay in those. Been trying to stay in that sort of lodging, or find more of that kind of lodging, and didn't find much in this area. Boat charter house, I guess. So the place back here says Clark Cook Bannister's Wharf. Again, I think there are some places you can rent there. Were they listed? Not sure. I'm staying at a place called the Newport. I think I mentioned the Newport Hotel and Marina. It's perfectly located, so I basically paid for the location. The room itself, Alright, so just for the record, because I am kind of documenting this, I guess. A place called the Hamlet, or Hemet Hotel, behind me. I don't know how much it is. I don't remember even seeing it when I did my hotel search, probably because it was way out of my price range. Whatever it was, I'll put the price right here. This place might be a little bit too rich for my taste, but I like visiting it. Step in, step out. Again, one of the things I was very interested in is, specifically, are there more bed and breakfasts or inns in the quaint areas here of Newport that I didn't see listed? Let me do a little research on that. Expand on that here. Trying to add a little bit of value. One of the things that I promised myself I would do when I started this particular season was wake up every morning, go for a walk, photograph some stuff in the morning, and then also record some sounds. And I've been pretty successful, I think, at doing that so far. Doing a day in whatever city based on the AI stuff that I created or put together, not so much. Probably photograph this area more than anything. My cell phone and with the action cam last night. Just a reminder of where I am and when I am. It's beginning of fall season. Check out the size of this pumpkin though, huh? What a cool little display. I showed this to my daughter last night and she's like, hey, I just bought a small pumpkin today. I can't imagine what this display is worth. But of course, look where we are. This place was hopping last night. 22 Portside. Again, I woke up this morning thinking, man, I wish I had stayed in a bed and breakfast in a nice little quaint area of Newport up in the hill. And I'm like, well, dude, you're right by the harbor. What a great morning. This has been, I hope you like this little discount tour. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Getting out on a morning walk, man. It's a way to see a place like this. I'm not really sure whether I have anything more than just a few clips of B-roll of this place. I haven't really said that much. We all see things through different lenses. The first thing that I really noticed was where the truck was parked and how they were loading food in. And I was just talking briefly to a guy that was loading in linens, and I see that. Maybe because of what I've been doing for years is, loading equipment into ballrooms all over the country, Well, you probably don't know that, but that's what I've been doing. And again, that's the perspective I see. I see the people working in the mornings to service the places that service the guests and the customers throughout the day and into the evening. Makes you wonder, though, whether, how many people really see that, the work it takes to create what I got to enjoy this morning and what I got to enjoy last night. Oh, there's my rabbit area. Rabbits are done eating in the morning. They're taking their little rabbit nap now. Incidentally, that little shed I was talking about, you see out of my room, it's a bicycle shed. I could have rented a bike. I've got no more information. Time to go have my breakfast now. $72 bagel egg sandwich. Actually, it wasn't that bad. It was like 42. So that was supposed to be a creative reveal. Camera coming in the window to set up my little chat here, but probably looks stupid. So I want to talk a little bit about room pricing before I hit the road. I was looking just in the shower and I was noticing some cracks in the paint and some wear and tear, imperfections of the room. And my thought was, gosh, how much did I pay for this place? And I look back, and I've been really trying to watch the pricing of my lodging as I've been traveling. But I do notice this year, since I started this, that lodging and room pricing is way out of control. And way more than I ever remembered. I'm going to just back up for a second. I used to backpack Europe every summer. Now, mind you, this was like 30 years ago when I was doing this. So, prices are certainly different now. I don't think they're, 10 times what they were. But I can remember spending $5 to $10 a night on a youth hostel. And sometimes I had a view of the Alps, and sometimes I was in the middle of Paris. It didn't matter. The Young and Happy Youth Hostel was like $9.50 a night. And I was right down in the Latin Quarter. I spent $5 a night for a mountain hostel in Gimmelwald, and that was like, it was like $5, $5 or $7. I used to stay in Greek pensions and bed and breakfasts. That was before Airbnb. People would just rent out a room in their home, or sometimes even a hotel. Remember, I stayed in a port, I think it was Paros, Naxos or Samos or one of those little islands, and it was like $30, and I thought I was splurging. And I had this amazing view where the cruise ships came in, and there was a cross that was up in the hill, plenty of places to eat along the harbor. I've really gotten sidetracked here. I want to go over the pricing of where I am now in Newport. Now, mind you, again, I've described the hotel I'm in. You've seen the view. I'm going to just turn the camera around here again. I'm amongst the yachts, I get it. But I wasn't looking for a harborside room. I was actually looking for a small little bed and breakfast. I envisioned staying in the middle of old Newport somewhere, spending maybe $200 a night for bed and breakfast. Couldn't find it, so I ended up here. If I were to book this room now I paid less than this, but if I were to book it now for tonight, this would be $361 a night without taxes. Again, with taxes included, I think I paid under, probably around $3, something like that. But let me just give you some other prices of hotels down here. 41 North, which is down this way a little bit. This is without taxes or fees. $9.52 a night. The Francis Malbone House Inn, Malbone, it was $8.59. Now it's $7.39. The Gardner House Yachting Village,
$1,157 a night. Newport Harbor Island Resort, if we decide to drive over the bridge right over there, a different view of the harbor. It's also on sale. Normally $647 on Expedia. Now it's $510 a night. I'll put links to these below if you're interested, by the way, if I remember. So I was like, okay, those are all around the harbor. To, get out of the harbor, you got to save some money. So I went a couple blocks up from the Thames Street that I was walking on yesterday, real touristy cobblestone street. And I found three places: the Melville House, the Cleveland House, and the Admiral Farragut Inn. Well, the Admiral's $360 a night, but by the time you add on, it looked like about 30% in taxes and fees. It comes up to like mid $450 a night. Same with the Cleveland House, that was close to $400, and the Melville House was like over $400 with taxes and fees. I find as I'm traveling, I'm even seeing, the old standby, go to the Holiday Inn Express. You can be guaranteed clean bed, clean sheets, nice coffee, a safe place. They're still $200 and up. It's really hard to find anything other than, under $200 a night. I thought it was going to be expensive RVing, taking those RVs out for $200 a day. And it is. And now I see why a lot of people are going out car camping. Might have to try that. I don't know, this is getting really out of control. But I do want to introduce a video that I was just watching.
Sorry for those looking for the wine and cheese tour. Didn't happen. So this is where you grew up?
Oh, yes, sir. Our nice little humble abode. Migrant Hotel is actually right up over here.
So that's how you know?
That's how you know.
Every room's full, or you have availabilities?
No, it's all full.
Get out of here.
$60,000 a month just on rental.
Hey, how's it going? Can I get a room if you don't mind?
That's some sketchy driving. That's some asshole stuff.
I know,
Trey.
I know.
Jeez. What percentage is it migrants versus U.S. homeless?
Massachusetts is first richest state in New England.
Oh, this place is beautiful.
The way they're coming over and then we're paying for it, they have nicer cars than we do.
I think that's where the issue is when there's no transparency. Let's explain to the public what's going on exactly.
There's usually always something going on.
I've seen it.
I highly recommend watching this because this immigration and border crisis situation we have going on now has become so politically divisive, and the media is really not covering it, as you'll see, what's really going on. And I have more questions now after watching that, as this guy did, who's been covering this thing on his own YouTube channel for a long time now, from what I can see in his stream. So he has more questions. I have a ton more questions. And I invite you to watch it because you're not really seeing what's going on. And you're not being told. They're not transparent, I think is what I'm trying to say, what he was trying to say. The transparency is gone. And again, I have so many questions. Why is the media not covering this? What's the bigger picture and what's the bigger plan? I hate to be a downer midday here, but that video popped up into my stream and I was like, oh my God, could be why it's been close to impossible for me to find reasonable lodging, Like, look, I realize I'm not changing the world here as I travel. I just want to see more of the country. I want to see more small towns, see more of the beauty, see more of what makes this country beautiful. I'm not really solving anything. I'm just kind of presenting this as my perspective. I think more than anything, this trip is really opening my eyes again, or reopening my eyes into the vast difference between the haves and the have-nots, if you would. I mean, I consider myself middle class, but I know that the middle class is dying. And I mean, I'm just imagining a family trying to travel here on vacation. There are people that can afford these places, but there's an increasingly larger amount of people that can't afford to travel. Maybe they don't want the middle class here. That's a thought too. I would love to come here again and just to see it around Christmas time, but I'm not paying these prices. No way. All right, I don't know if I said anything. It's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird setup to me, heading off and taking a tour of mansions of the Vanderbilts and Rockefellers. How bizarre of a setup. Excuse the mess. I'm almost ready to bust out of here. But just wanted to point out something about the window. When I opened the window, this fell out. All right, let's snap out of it. Let me show you what I plan on doing today. All right, so here's the hotel. Going to check out and drive down America's Cup Avenue, down this rest of Thames Street. This is where I was walking this morning. And I'm going to take this road called Ocean Drive around here. Going to end up in this middle area somewhere and park and hit a couple of these mansions, the Breakers, and there's a couple of other ones. So there'll be plenty of video there, I'm sure, and I'll probably walk this cliff walk, maybe right in here, because if you were to walk it from here to here, it's like 3.5 miles long. I don't have a lot of time for that. Kind of wish I was staying in Newport one more night, so I didn't have to drag all my luggage with me, but anyway, there's that cliff walk brochure. So that's what we're going to do. Let's check out of here. Time to leave this view. Oh shit! That was a pretty good one, wasn't it? I think they heard that one next door. You know, I was just looking over this one more time before I head off. If I was going to do a little travel show in Newport, I kind of plugged that into ChatGPT and had like a 3 or 4 page outline, bullet points, shot lists, interview suggestions, that kind of stuff. The very beginning, the theme is Newport is a town of contrasts where the grand mansions of America's wealthiest families meet a working class marine culture, a place where history is palpable, but the sea remains the constant heartbeat. Talking about the contrast between the wealthy and those who serve the wealthy was really, I guess, what I was observing a little bit more than normal when I was here. I was talking about the price of things because it affects me, but just thinking a little bit more deeper into what never really bothered me, and that is, I live really close to Palm Beach, across the bridge, is an island with a lot of wealth and a lot of money, but I've always appreciated that because I serve that community and have served that community for years with my lighting and production company. I've done events in private homes and in large hotels and clubs and gathering spaces, and appreciated that there were those out there who could afford to pay some pretty hefty fees for our services. And that's what I kind of was able to, rely on and build and grow and live off of and employ other people. And they were able to profit from that and, make a living. So it's never bothered me. I never really walked into a home and said, I wish I had that, because it costs a lot of money to maintain that. I appreciate that it's there and I get to enjoy it without even owning it. I walk into somebody's beautiful mansion or beautiful home and say, wow, I don't live here and I couldn't afford to live here, but man, I'm here for today. So I'm living here today. And I like that.
And the same is going to be looking at these mansions. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to. Everybody, we're all different, you know. I would have never wanted to have that responsibility. But it's there for me to enjoy, just like this whole town was. It's just that when it becomes somewhat unaffordable, and I don't know, you can't help but think that there's something going on, man. There's the middle class in this country kind of being gutted. Maybe I'm thinking a little bit too much into this whole thing. I probably am. We hit the road and see some pretty stuff. But definitely check out that video. There's a lot of food for thought in that one. I admire what this guy's doing because it takes a lot of work to uncover these sorts of stories. And the mainstream media is not touching it with a 10-foot pole with any depth, that's for sure. All right. Time to hit the road and see some cool stuff.
So here we are 9 months later doing the edit, trying to put some closure on this whole Newport lodging situation here. Thought I was going to go back and do a lot of research and find some really reasonable lodging. It's not necessarily the case. As I was driving through this area here, it's an area that I didn't really explore, but I can only imagine that there's got to be some Airbnb listings back in here, or maybe some small listings that I'm not even aware of. But I did notice the Bouchard Inn, the Wellington Resort, and the Admiral Fitzroy. The Bouchard and the Admiral have around 16 to 20 rooms each, whereas the resort's a little larger. Anyway, like all hotels in this area, the high season is July and August. And the shoulder season was around when I was there, so the prices get even higher in the summer. And winter season, they drop down probably about 50% from what I could tell. Anyway, I don't think you're going to find any 200 and under lodging in this area, but that's just what it is. It's Newport. I think one of the reasons I keep thinking about lodging here is Newport's always been on my mind as a destination to go to for the jazz festival that happens every summer. This year it's the beginning of August, and Jacob Collier's performing, so I don't know, I might make it back there. I found this website when doing a little bit of research, this Discover Newport, whatever. I'll put the link below, but it's a huge wealth of information, and as you can see, just about every bed and breakfast in this area is listed on this page. It's a great source. I'll put a link to that. Another good source might be the Visitors Bureau. Right off the Thames was an area I was walking around in the rain. They were very helpful in giving me some maps and guidance for the mansion tours. They might be able to find some other lodging options I'm not even aware of. Of course, if you're staying in this area, there's other towns around like Middleton and Bristol, of course way up in Providence and Warwick. Jamestown is just across the causeway, and I found a couple of places there, from a little garage apartment to a 3-bedroom waterfront house. These are the prices for a 3-night stay in September. Again, it's a little pricey, but you get what you pay for, I guess. That's just the nature of this area. Anyway, from what I could tell, the Newport Jazz Festival is not downtown Newport around the harbor like I thought it was going to be. It's actually in an area called Fort Adams State Park, which is accessible by ferry if you're going to stay over in Jamestown or down in Newport. I think they also run ferries from Providence because there is limited parking there. I think if I was going to go there, I'd love to stay somewhere down in the area by the harbor in a nice little 1-bedroom Airbnb cottage and bicycle my way there. Of course, if it's raining, that's a whole other issue. Anyway, as you can see, it's pretty scenic driving through the area. I was about to make my way around the peninsula, eventually heading over to the breakers, and then making my way to my lodging for this evening, which is way down in Narrowsat, which is really just about a 20-minute ride away from Newport, and certainly more reasonably priced lodging. I stayed at a place called the Surf Shack. We'll talk about that in the next episode. Here's a sneak peek at that one. Alright, enough about these hotel rooms. Let's get back to the story.
I'm not positive, but I think I saw a little porpoise over there. Anyway, I just stopped real quick. I just drove through an area of Newport that I didn't walk far enough. Only walked so far this morning, but there was a really cool older part that didn't have the cobblestone street. It was the south part of Thames, or as the GPS likes to pronounce it, Thames. Might be some reasonable lodging here. I just wasn't able to find it, but it's a very cute part. I think I'm gonna. What the hell is that sound? I don't know. I'm in a really, really cool drive. There's a tent around the corner. Looks like I might be set up for a wedding or something. I'm seeing a lot of event trucks and people that cater to this area. Newport. God, it's gorgeous out. I wanted to give myself a destination in the GPS so I would end up on this Ocean Drive. And I just kept following the road and ended up, there was a little inn right on the top of the cliff. And I saw the cruise ship coming in. And I just thought, I don't know, it was just like it was like a juxtaposition of all of these people living in these beautiful, expensive homes, and then a cruise ship bringing in the masses. Somebody had mentioned to me earlier when I was talking about, actually it was the girl in the information place, the tourist information place. She had mentioned that the cruise ship was going to be coming in, and I said, cruise ship? Because yeah, it comes in as far as it can, and then they use the boats to tender I think it's what it's called when they shuffle the people in. Do they tender them in? Is that what that's called? Brenton Point State Park. So I was real close to there. I'm doing a nice little drive along the tip here. Got the action camera happening. And there's a bunch of rocks. Looks like it would have been a good place to catch sunrise or sunset, because I'm in the south tip here. It's pretty. A lot of boats out there too. Did I mention I love travel?
I did a lot of videoing today, so I think we're gonna maybe close out this episode, continue with my tour of the mansions on next week's episode. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for being here. Thanks for following the journey. And as always, more on all of this later.